Welcome back, Gypsies. Stay tuned because we're talking episodes 5 and 6, Gypsy After Show on AFTERBUZZ TV.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Sweet little lies. Tell me lies. Yes, Stevie. Get it, Stevie.
Get it. Get it, Oliver?
Fleetwood Mac. Like, I chose Fleetwood Mac this week because obviously the theme is Gypsy by Fleetwood Mac.
So many lies.
And there's lies. And
so
lies.
many on top of lies on lies.
Lies after lies.
All
They don't
around.
stop.
And they're not even little lies. They're getting bigger.
Yeah.
And bigger. So yes, welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Give us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube and on iTunes. So ladies, introduce yourselves. Tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
I'm Karina Vargas. You guys can find me everywhere on Twitter and Instagram at KarinaXVRGS.
I'm Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Rach Goodman or on Facebook at Rachel Ann Goodman. And I just want to give a shout out to two people who are always in the chat. Yes. We have Joe and we have Emily. So thank you guys for joining the chat tonight.
Emily from the show. We'll talk about Emily. We're going to talk about Emily.
Hi, Emily.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Like, we really appreciate you guys tuning in live. And if you aren't tuning live, that's totally fine. Just keep in the discussion with us because we love talking with y'all. But yes, you can find me, Ollie Dreamer, on all social media at Ollie Dreamer. So yes, okay. What did you guys think? I feel like there's so much happened that went down this week on episodes 5 and 6. General thoughts? Like, what are you feeling?
You know how I feel about Jean.
Yes.
Pretty much I just didn't see her in a very positive light. Her redemption for me is like shrinking as each episode goes down.
Okay.
Especially because now she's full on cheating. Like, it's not just some kind of passing thing. And so she's lying to two people, her husband and this other girl. And we don't know, okay, maybe Sydney's bad, but we don't know that yet. She could have legitimate feelings, and Jean/Diane is just kind of stringing her along.
What do you think, Karina?
She's getting crazy, and like she's becoming a psychopath with all the role playing and all that. What is up with that? Is she trying to beat her?
Well, I will say, like, she's just a really interesting character. There's good in her, and there's a lot of bad in her. So let's talk about it. We're starting with episode 5, the Commune, or the Commune. I'm horrible at English, people. Okay, so before this episode, when the episode starts, we see our girl Alexis, homegirl, beautiful girl, but she's doing some writing. I think she's doing what was that?
It's like the poetry, the stand-up poetry.
Oh, yeah, okay. I thought she was doing some creative fan fiction, maybe with her and Michael.
Well, did you guys see? It was called Untitled Roller Coaster Story.
Oh.
I hit pause. I was like, huh. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I didn't
maybe
get it.
I feel like that's just what this show is all about. I'm on a roller coaster with y'all watching this show.
Yeah.
But she does some snooping, and she comes across an old photo. It was one of those photo booths, I believe. But with Michael, our boy Michael, because she's in his desk, I believe, and it's with him and this mysterious woman. And you were saying, I didn't know who it was at first, so I asked you before the show started, and you said it was Catherine, who we kind of got a little bit of information last episode.
Yeah, so a couple episodes ago, or it might have been 1 or 2 episodes ago, it was when he was talking to Alexis when they were all having drinks, and he mentioned her. He said, yeah, I was with this girl between, Jean and I took a break, and it was kind of in that in-between moment, and he even referenced her and said, I could have seen myself spending the rest of my life with her. So I kind of think Jean had everything to do with why that didn't work out, and the fact that he's got a little picture hidden away in his drawer.
My theory, okay, I'm just it might be wrong, but I don't care. Catherine, maybe she's the crazy patient that we got that's what I was thinking.
That's what I was thinking.
That's a great theory.
Maybe she's not crazy though. Maybe that she was set up, framed. So that's what I'm thinking right now.
Well, I definitely don't think that patient was crazy.
Yeah.
Even if it's not Catherine.
I mean, now that we know what Jean's like.
Yeah.
So.
We have a comment in the chat. Joe says the story made Michael more interesting.
It did. And I feel like it's also opening it up to Alexis and him kind of,
Yeah.
you know, because they're like super flirting, especially in the next episode.
Yeah. There's something about Michael that I just can't put my finger on. But we kind of got a little bit more with this particular episode. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I like Michael as one of the characters, and I like Alexis. She seems way more normal. Like, I honestly could see him being with her over Jean and having a much better relationship.
Yeah.
But I feel like she's sneaky.
Yeah. I mean, she was snooping.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like she's intentionally trying to like break up their marriage.
Yeah.
So it's like, I do like her though, and I do like her with Michael, but I'm like, you're a little fishy.
There's a theory that maybe she knows about, Jean,
I think
cheating.
She does, yeah.
Yeah, we brought up last week. So skipping ahead a little bit, Jean's like, I believe she's texting. Was she texting Sid in the next?
She was.
She was texting.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't she be texting Sid?
Like obsessive crazily.
And this is the moment that Michael, there's lots of tension between them. Tension building. You can feel it. I'm just watching this. I'm like, oh, he's getting a little bit suspicious. So.
And the fact that he asked for like her phone, like the passcode and stuff,
later
and
on
she
in
was
the
like,
episode. Oh my god, I was cringing.
She's like, honey, but no.
Yeah, I was cringing too. I was like, what is she gonna do?
She didn't say anything, and I'm like, Jean, come on, you're good at this. Come on, you have to say something because you're looking way too suspicious.
And then she brings up that patient confidentiality,
which okay, that was a good one, but you have to keep it up. You can't just be silent, girl. But yeah, I was gonna ask you guys, what do you think of couples? Should they know each other's passcode or should they not?
If you have nothing to hide, then why is there a passcode?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think passcodes are important. I think my partner should know my passcode, but also I think it's so important. What if you lose your phone in public? So
well, having a passcode is one thing, but why should your spouse not know it?
Yeah.
Especially since she's been texting Sydney,
Yeah, exactly.
What I don't get
my recent text.
Why doesn't she just delete the text?
Because she just wants to fantasize while she's looking at a little text. Because she's sad and lonely. I don't know.
So we've determined that she's a cheater and also not very good at it.
She's not a good liar either.
But skipping ahead a little bit, she has another session with our boy Sam. And Sam's been with Sydney. He's been with Sydney. He reveals to Jean that they had sex. According to him, they had sex.
No, according to her too.
Oh, that's
she
right.
Said,
oh, yeah.
She told her when she went to go visit her at the studio.
And Jean's not having it. And then she does a little exercise with Sam. She pretends to be Sydney.
I thought that was
so crazy. And Sam's like, oh, she's not like that with one of Jean's responses. And then she since Jean's been hanging around with Sydney, she starts to become more like Sydney. Yeah. And he's like, that sounds just like Sydney. Yeah. I was like, oh!
I was even like, dang, you're practicing because you sound exactly like her. And it's getting kind of creepy because even during that sex scene of role playing with her and Michael, she told him
Sydney.
that her name was
in the
Sydney.
next episode. Yes.
Wait, wasn't that was?
Oh, is it this episode?
Yeah, that was this episode.
What?
I think.
Let me look at my notes.
In episode 6.
Oh no, it was the next episode. Yeah. I believe.
Because they go to the hotel.
Yeah. Oh yeah, role playing with Sam. Never mind. I'm all confused. But still, she's role playing. So.
Well, she is Diane.
I know.
Oh my god.
That was so. I was uncomfortable in that scene with her and Sam.
Yeah.
Every time she is now with this guy, I just keep thinking this poor guy needs to get another therapist.
Oh yeah.
There's an interesting setup. I think this is a little bit of foreshadowing. I don't know what they're gonna go about this situation, but there's a meeting with Jean and the other therapist, and she lies to the meeting, says everything is going fine, and then someone's like, oh well, I want to see your notes. You're doing a pretty good job. So Jean, eventually we find out later that Jean actually does fake news about, I think she uses Allison's notes, but she reverses them.
Yeah.
She does the exact opposite. She's like, Allison didn't show up. Allison showed up. And I'm like,
doing great.
Showing progress.
So I'm like, fake news.
And that's where we see that she goes and searches for Melissa's file.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She's getting a file about Melissa Sawgraves?
And I think she's the patient.
Yeah. Okay, so might be wrong. Okay, I'm
your theory.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. Could be.
No, I completely forgot about Melissa since we didn't see Melissa at all. But now that you mentioned it, okay. Then it was Catherine. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. My theory's thrown out the window, y'all. Okay, mystery solved. Okay. And also, this is very interesting because there was a case in the file about Holloway versus Sawgraves. That's such an awkward name to say. The last name Sawgraves. Am I saying that right?
Like a restraining order, right?
Yeah. Holloway versus Sawgraves. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, yes, this must be the crazy patient. Well, I hope we find out what Catherine is. Mystery girl.
I just want to say we have a couple other comments in here. We have Joe saying role-playing time.
I mean, it's been working for Jean.
And hookup coming.
I know.
Oh, God. Yes, it is. It's on the way. Also, I want to ask a question. Who is the craziest character in Gypsy so far? Is it A, Claire? Is it B, our girl Jean? C, Sam? Because we find a little bit about Sam more later on. Or D, my favorite person, Michelle. So yeah, let us know who's the craziest person in your opinion. So Jean actually, this is where I like this relationship with Jean and Allison, because Jean actually accompanies Allison to an AA meeting. And Jean really, I don't think Jean's really pushing Allison, but she's like really supporting Allison in this position. She's like, okay, they ask, like, is there anyone else in this meeting that wants to say something, introduce yourself? And Jean really is there to support Allison. She's like, come on, you have nothing to lose. You got this. So Allison actually stands up. You know, she seems like a really insecure girl, but she has the support of Jean, and she ends up, you know, introducing herself to the AA meeting. And afterwards, the people, since she's new, they want to meet Allison. And Allison actually covers for Jean, and I thought that, I was like, oh, okay, you know, because obviously that's not her mom. Allison says that Jean's her mom. So what do you guys think of this moment?
I love this just because Jean is like, the way that she's actually being with Allison is not like how she is with the other patients, kind of like getting inside their lives and like messing with it. I feel like with Allison, she's actually trying to help her get better, you know, and pushing her to do these stuff that she needs to be pushed. It's not like, oh, I'm pushing you so that your life gets worse. It's more of like, I'm pushing you for you to get better. And I kind of see it like a mother-daughter relationship with
like
them.
Like a positive one.
So when she said, oh, this is my mother, I was like, I could see that.
Yeah.
This is the only thing that redeems Jean's character for me is how she handles everything with Allison.
Yeah.
Because this girl she clearly needs guidance that for whatever reason she's not getting from her own mother. And the fact that Jean stepped up and did this for her, in this case, it's like the only lie that is, you know, to me anyway, an acceptable lie. Yeah, because she's genuinely helping this person, and you know, we don't know, it might not help her in the long run, or it might actually do some good. So.
Yeah. And I love before this whole thing happened about, like, I like that they have each other's back, but like something that stood out to me during the before she even like introduced herself. Jean said something about it's so much easier to be honest with strangers. And I think that speaks a lot about Jean's character, because she's lying. Well, okay, she's not lying, but like she seems, I don't know, I personally like that quote about being, it's so easy to be open with people that you don't know, but it's hard to be completely honest with people who you're close to, like your family, because you're afraid of ruining something. Yeah,
too.
Exactly. So like
I feel like you get less judgment when you don't really know the people, or I guess you don't really care about what they think because you don't know them. So.
And with Jean/Diane, when she takes the Diane persona and is out in that, you know, running around as Diane, I feel like she is more emotionally honest with people. She may not be circumstantially honest and honest about who she is, like, you know, with her, you know, having a child and being married, but she opens up a lot more, like, even as we see, and this is kind of jumping ahead, but with the, you know, the people that she doesn't know in that group, she's way more honest with them than I think we've ever seen her be, and she doesn't really know any of them.
Yeah,
that was actually one of my favorite parts in the episode.
That was a little bit of foreshadowing there. Yeah, nicely said. But we go into another meeting with Claire. crazy mom. And she starts to think Rebecca's suicidal. She's selling her things on eBay, and I felt really bad because Rebecca started selling like her very like personal items that like her mom gave her, and so Rebecca's really trying to like purge her like past. And another quote that Claire said was, "Sometimes we need to push someone aside to get in touch with our true self." So that's the quote that really speaks true to Claire, and that's what we're seeing. She's pushing kind of people away, like Michael, because she's being in touch with her true self. So I'm like, okay, so is her true self Diane? What did you guys think?
I think her true self is the woman we see when she's speaking to those people, and like Karina was saying, I think that was my favorite part of this episode too. And I know we haven't gotten there yet. I'm sorry, I'm jumping.
Oh,
but,
no. We can talk about it now. But no, before that though. Oh, were you gonna say something? Sorry.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
But something that we didn't learn from last episode was that there was actually a kiss between Sydney and Sam. Remember when Jean was boxing and then she's like, but there's flashes of the last.
See,
do you remember that?
Yeah, but I wasn't sure if that was reality or
was
if
it
that
her-
was her
Yeah,
imagination.
no, that was
Yeah.
her imagination.
Was it?
Because
That's what I thought. Yeah,
I think it definitely was her imagination because she was doing the punching bag. So I felt like because she was so angry at the fact that she knew that that Sydney and Sam had sex, she started like picturing them kind of like being together and kissing, and she was making up this story that they had kissed and stuff. So I think that's why she was letting her frustration out to the punching bag.
I agree. Yeah.
So
I don't think it was real.
Yeah, I don't think
Okay.
that was real.
Yeah. I mean,
If
I think,
not, I felt like they would have showed it
Interesting.
right when
Yeah.
that would have happened.
and
Okay.
it just seemed also like cinematically the way they showed it, there was
Yeah.
kind of like a glare over it, and
Okay.
it seemed like a memory flashback,
Okay.
or not a flashback, a memory
Dream.
experience that she was having while she was punching, and not so much reality.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe I'm just being too gullible here. But good point.
I mean, I'm sure there was kissing.
After
Since they lived together.
Yeah. Okay, so this is where we can talk, because we've been wanting to talk about this moment when Jean goes out for a night at Rebecca's new place, about this group home. It's such an interesting, because I don't really know what this is. They're like bohemian, they're old-fashioned, but they're also very, they're not materialistic. They're very minimalistic as well. They bare minimum. And I like what they said, that, we believe in choosing your family. Because, yes, you do have a biological family, but I definitely believe that, like, your friends can be your family, absolutely. But this was definitely something that I'm not used to. So I wasn't sure if this was like a, was it a cult or what? What did you guys
Yeah.
think? This was a very interesting setting
I
that Jean
remember
found herself.
last week we were talking about whether it was a cult
Yeah.
or maybe like I felt like it was a cult, but then at the same time I kind of did feel like it was this sort of kind of yoga type of environment,
Yeah.
and I still kind of feel like it is that. I don't see it being a cult necessarily, but I feel like there might be something cult-wise.
Okay, yeah.
But not fully cult, if that makes any sense.
So.
Are you talking about the phone scene?
The phone scene, but just what we think this is.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think it's a cult. But I don't know if I'm misusing this term, but it kind of reminded me of maybe like a hippie lifestyle where people don't have a lot of materialistic things, and it's just more about being and these people getting together and just like they didn't even want electronics really.
Yeah, because before they sat down or whatever, they had like a bowl. They're like, put your device in here, which was kind of nice. But sometimes I like to look on Snapchat. But they're I think they're also, maybe they're a little bit secretive, but they're definitely an interesting bunch. I
Because I
would
think
say.
they also want to be connected with each
other rather than
instead of like being on your phone and like
which is
being at the
nice.
dinner table.
I
and
definitely,
stuff,
I need to be more. Of that,
and
for
I also
sure.
the fact that they called it like pure honesty, like the group was like kind of called like pure honesty, that there's no secrets between any of them or anything like that, and that's why I don't know. I feel like it's a good group, but I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
what
I
it
couldn't
is.
be in it for sure. But one of the most intense parts of this particular episode was when they had a little phone game, and they're like, "Okay, everyone, we're gonna do a little game. We're gonna pull out someone's phone and look at the most recent," because this was the thing about being completely open and honest with each other. Jean got to go first or something like that, and
Like
Or
she,
no.
She picked a phone first.
Yeah, which was nothing. But
Yeah.
then someone picked her phone, and the point is to look at your most recent text. She was texting previously Claire, Rebecca's mom. And I think Rebecca got her phone. Yeah, Rebecca got her phone. And
Of
she's
course.
just like, in the hot seat.
At first, she didn't remember. She was like, "Who's the last person that texted?" And then it kind of went to the flashback. She was like, "Oh my god, like it was Claire," you know.
And it ended up being
Melissa
S. I'm just calling her Melissa S because I don't want to butcher her last name.
What
We're
is
gonna say
her last name?
Sawgraves.
Yeah.
It
was
rolls
like-
off the tongue weird. Were you gonna say something about that?
Well, yeah, because so it was Melissa, and it
Yeah.
was like, stay the F out of my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, it's interesting that they didn't show us like that she texted
Yeah,
Melissa,
I was
but I
wondering
could
about
believe
that.
it. It's like I could fill in the blank of that plot line that we didn't actually see
Mm-hmm.
because it just seems so characteristically Jean.
But what could she have sent her?
Good
Yeah, that's
question.
what
And
I'm
wondering.
why?
Yes.
Why
What do you guys
now?
think?
Yeah.
Because what could she have sent that made her so angry to be like,
Yeah.
stay the F away
Because
from my life?
Melissa's supposed to be the crazy one, apparently. There was the whole case
Yeah.
between the two.
And if there's a restraining order and this woman was so crazy, why is Jean approaching her?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I definitely think it was cool of Jean to kind of be. She wasn't completely open with the group, but she gave a pretty good backstory that wasn't like too detailed, but I think she, did it justice with her explanation.
Well, and this is where she says that she feels like she's living as two people,
Oh, yeah.
and she doesn't know who's real.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I wrote that one too.
The quote I wrote was, "I don't know who's in control anymore or who I want to be."
Yeah, I have the same one. I was like, she doesn't know which person's real. Doesn't know who's more authentic in her double life either.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dang.
The most honest thing I think we've
I
ever heard
know.
from her that anyone has
Yeah.
ever heard.
And that's why I just think Jean's crazy. I know y'all don't like Jean, but I just think she's an interesting character to explore, and Naomi Watts is doing like a fantastic job
Yeah,
of portraying her,
definitely.
for
Definitely. Oh, she's
I like
interesting.
her.
Yeah.
I like her. She's
Me
just
too.
crazy.
Yeah. But while this whole dinner scene's going on, Michael's having the boys over for some sports and whatnot. And one of them his name's Daryl, and he's, I think he's the ex-husband. He's divorced to one of the therapists, one of Jean's friends.
yeah.
And he reveals, like, he's seeing a 29-year-old. And,
First of all, I didn't see how that was such a big deal. I mean, they're what, like in their late 30s
or 40s or
40s,
something.
yeah.
He's just cocky, he's chip off his shoulder, whatever. Ugh, I wasn't here for it though. He just seems like a skis. I'm like,
Yeah. I was like, why are you even showing someone off?
And Michael was just like, I don't know, Michael was just, I feel like he was jealous.
Like he
Yeah.
wanted to look,
Yeah.
but
And I feel like he was kind of like, oh, like, what if I were to do that?
Yeah,
Or something,
'cause-
kind of like giving him ideas.
Daryl had like a photo of the girl, the 29-year-old in a bra, and it was very similar to like Alexis's photo.
yeah,
So-
I feel like she was flashing through his mind.
He gets
Could
some
be.
weed. He gets some weed. The boys talk about divorce. He is storing some weed. So Michael got some secrets of his own. Okay, so this was when he was like, okay, Michael, you're an interesting person. You're not just like a.
Was it his or Jean's? And he found it when he was looking for her stuff.
No, I think it was his.
I think it was his.
Because he looked through her side and found the box of cigarettes.
Cigarettes, yeah.
And then he went to his side
He's like,
and
"That's
he
not good enough."
he knew exactly where it was. Yeah. He was like, this isn't gonna work. I need something stronger.
Yeah, and later on, Michael goes on G's computer and he actually sees Sydney performing. That was like because previously in the episode, she was looking at one of Sydney's performances. So he starts doing some Googling. So I'm wondering when he's Googling if he's looking more about Sydney. So he knows Sydney exists. He doesn't really know that, the
Yeah,
relationship,
yeah.
but it's something to think about. But also, Jean and Sydney, finally. We were wrong.
We didn't even talk about like when she went to go
What happened?
talk to her.
Oh, earlier on, yeah.
Oh, wait, what happened?
So it was, Jean went to go visit Sydney.
When she was performing, I completely forgot
Yeah,
about that.
like crazy stalkerish kind
Yeah.
of. And basically Sydney kind of yelled at her and they got into this huge fight.
Yeah. Oh.
And they called each other, basically, Sydney
Sydney.
called her a
Uh-huh.
scared little
Yes.
girl.
Yeah, because Sydney was like, I go for what I want, and you run away from everything. And so that set up this scene which was when she drives by and sees Sydney. She's smoking, obviously, because that's what Sydney does by the corner. Careful, girl. Someone might think you're doing something else. But and she gets out of the car and she walks towards her and she leans in and kisses her. And she's like, just letting you know, I'm not afraid. Is that what she said?
Yeah, something like that.
You know, I butcher these quotes, y'all, but I get the gist of it, okay? So we were wrong in our prediction.
Yeah.
We thought
I mean, I was kind of close.
I was surprised. I was like, "Ooh, okay."
I know.
Okay.
I was like, "Ooh, she's not."
But I think it was good. It was justified because, like, okay, we're in the middle of the season. It's time to really get this ball going with the relationship.
And I think also the fact when they were back at the studio and stuff, Sydney was telling her, why can't you just admit that you want to see me? And so I think that's why she also just, like, when she was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try her. I'm going to kiss her.
Yes. And so also, though, nothing else happened. She went to go back to her car. And Lauren, her friend, the same one who was the ex-wife of Daryl, she saw her outside her studio. She was like,
ran.
She did. She was like, I'm going to get in my car.
Like, I don't think that she saw the kiss,
Yeah.
but she
Yeah,
definitely
no.
saw her.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
She later texted her. She's like, "Was that you outside my studio or something?
Yeah,
Her recital or something." But anyways, she denied it. She texted back
Yeah.
that she denied it. And later on, she goes back into bed with Michael, who's still awake, and he's like, he definitely has a sense that something's going on.
Yeah, because he was like, where were you?
Yeah,
Like,
'cause-
really, like, where were you?
And so, but this episode ends with them like booking like a romantic thing because they want to reconnect, and that brings us to episode 6.
Yeah, and Michael even says that he doesn't want to end up as one of the divorced
Yeah.
couples.
Yeah,
So
that's all that's what the boys were talking about.
yeah, and so even though like when I was watching that with him and the guys, I thought he was leaning toward divorce, like he saw it as a positive thing. But so when this scene came, I was like, huh, interesting, because I wasn't expecting it to go that way. But shows that he's the bigger person, and he obviously suspects something, but he's trying to fix it.
And also, I don't think he wants to get divorced necessarily because of his image. He's definitely image conscious.
Yeah, he is.
So,
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to be have an open relationship.
uh-oh.
I mean,
no
they're
dis-
both already kind of.
No discriminating as long as you're all on the same page, but they're not.
This is just a thought I've been having too. I honestly don't think he'd even be that mad about Sydney.
No?
No, I don't
I
think
don't
so.
know.
I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't know.
We're going to find out. But this episode 6, The Vagabond Hotel. And I think it's interesting. These titles are like, aren't they like places? Like,
Yeah,
have you noticed that?
usually.
They're places. Like the first episode was Down the Rabbit Hole. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that's that's the cafe, what the cafe is called, I believe. Down the Rabbit Hole. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I think you're
But
right.
I think, because I overheard that throughout one of the episodes. But anyways, so we already talked about this, but Jean and Michael were role playing, and they're at the bar. And at first, I thought this was like a flashback scene, but I was like, no, that's stupid. But she says her name's Sydney during the role playing game.
And she's a musician.
Yeah, and he's an architect.
Yeah, I didn't know where
Yeah.
that came from.
Neither do I. I don't know. Maybe that was symbolic of him building something.
I
don't
like
know.
didn't even think that Jean would say that, but then the fact that she said it, I was like, what is she trying to do? Is she actually trying to be
Yeah,
Sydney?
I mean, she has the nail.
She has the nail
Chanel.
polish. She's acting like her with Sam. It's like,
And at this point, now that he's been snooping on the computer, you would think he would start to piece it
Yeah,
together
connect.
because he saw Sydney's name on that music video and that she's a musician. So you would think he would know, even if he didn't suspect anything, that he would know that she was basing this role-playing character off of that
Yeah.
musician that he
Yeah.
saw on the computer.
And throughout the sex scene, oh my God, Michael, I cringed at this because he was like,
Do you like that, Sydney?
"Do you like Sydney?" Oh God! So that probably turned her on
I was like,
more.
oh.
Whew. But so they have a wonderful night. And the next morning, he leaves from work, and she says she has a patient, but really she ends up going to see Sydney at the exact same hotel. And
But she wasn't staying at that hotel.
she wasn't. She's like, well, Sydney at one point was like, well, let's go back to the room. I presume you have a room. That's why you brought me here. But she was like, no, I saw an architect because I'm a writer, obviously, and I was just going to interview him for a piece I'm doing. And I was like, oh, okay, that was pretty good, Jean.
yeah, but then she's also bringing him into the
She
conversation.
says, yeah.
You know?
She asked him, like, oh, what's he like?
Would I like him?
He may seem uninteresting at first, but after a while, you know.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I felt like she was talking about him kind of like in a flirty way, like if she was interested in him. And that's why then Sydney was like, would I like him or something like that? I was like, this is getting weird.
Yeah.
But eventually, they Sid's like, I have to go at one point because it's an emergency or something like that. Something came up. I don't know. But Jean's like, oh, well, I can spare a few minutes. So she goes with Sydney. And her cover's kind of blown because, like, one of the guys are like, ma'am, your bag. And I'm like, oh, my God. And Sydney, obviously, she's not stupid. Sydney's really smart. So I'm like, you're not looking good. You're not doing this well, girl.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys know that she was going to take her where she took her?
No, I had no idea.
No.
I thought it was going to be
No?
her apartment.
I was still afraid. I was like, oh, God.
I was afraid, too, because I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, because Sam could theoretically show up at her apartment.
Oh, that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And apparently, I forgot to mention, didn't we meet Emily last episode too? I think we met Emily last episode.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
it
sure.
was
I
at the
forgot to mention-
Bachelorette.
yeah.
They were like,
So that's something like we don't know Emily. What we see her at the end of this episode, we'll talk about. But I just want to shout that out there because that was a really important part. So like we're kind of wondering, okay, obviously Sam and Emily's relationship ended bad, and maybe is it because of Sydney?
yeah,
So,
I
It
think so.
sounded like it was Sydney breaking them up and that Sam cheated on
Yeah.
Emily.
And just like
she
took
was
off with
pissed. She was
her.
like, "Can we talk about?" Or he was like, "Can we talk about this?" And she was like, "No." And she rushed away to go like to her bachelorette party for one of her friends. So later on, Michael and Alexis, they have some flirting going on. You know, he brings up about him being like the architect. He's like feeling himself, and he books a flight for him, Alexis, and one of his friends, Scott or something. And he mentions that Jean is not coming. So that's something to think about. I'm like, okay,
Because
that's gonna
that
come.
may happen.
Yeah, that's something to come up because Jean's not coming apparently. But later on, we find out that Michael he just says that like, oh, he has a flight to Texas. So didn't that like? I'm like, okay, so he's like not letting her know.
Sounded like a red flag to me.
Yeah.
Because he obviously had it planned when he was
Yeah.
talking to Alexis. And just the fact that he would have her go kind of was a red flag in the first place. But then when he showed up back home and he's talking to Jean, and all of a sudden it's like he just kind of worked it into the conversation. Like, oh, oops, I forgot. Like singular I, am going to Texas. Because I'm sure if he revealed the full truth to Jean, yeah.
She would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's definitely hiding this trip from. Isn't he hiding it from her? Don't you think?
I think maybe he will eventually tell her, like
But-
towards more when he's about to leave type of thing, maybe.
Because he told her he was going on the business trip, just
Yeah.
not with Alexis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It just kind of like I was just rubbed it wrong a little bit. Personally.
Yeah, me too.
Because immediately he said like Jeannie's not coming, and she didn't even know about the trip. So that's why I was kind of like, okay, Michael, I'm watching you.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like Jean's innocent.
No.
I know she actually took that opportunity to be with Sydney.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Sydney and Jean, they go back to an apartment. Come to find out, she brings him to Sam's apartment. Jean, at one point, goes to Sam's room. It looks a mess, and she finds a gun. So I'm like, oh God, that's a red flag. Now that is a big red flag.
And you know what they say, don't show a gun unless it's going to get used.
Exactly. Oh my God. And basically, the reason why they're there is because Sam's not there. Thankfully.
Yeah.
But she wants to get her dog because they had a dog together. Oh my God, don't get a dog together unless you know you're going to be together for the rest of your life, unless you're married. Okay, because it gets messy. Kids, dogs, oh my God. But anyways, she rushes out. She's like, oh, I have to go. I'm late. So she goes to work, and her friend Lauren, brings up like, oh, I'm pretty sure I saw you. And she's like, oh, it's my doppelganger. The doppelganger drives the same car. And I'm like, oh!
Has the same license plate. Just
Jean saved by Claire. And they go to meditate.
We have a comment.
Uh-oh.
Joe says, bang, bang. Because a gun comment earlier.
Oh my God.
The stress in that scene.
So, skipping ahead, Jean, she gets a text from Sam that he needs to see her like immediately. And it's revealed that Sam, from his point of view, Sydney stole the dog, and he's
Yeah.
livid, he's pissed. At one point, he's like, I could just kill her, and I'm like,
We saw
the
good.
gun.
It's like, don't tell that to your therapist.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I know.
I felt so bad for him though, because I was like, that's his dog, and he even made a point. Sydney's not gonna take care of the dog, and I honestly believed him because Sydney doesn't. I don't know. Something strikes me about her, like she wouldn't be the best with a dog or children, or. So yeah, I was like, yeah, just give him his dog back.
Yeah. What kind of dog was that? It was cute.
I don't know. It was really cute.
I
just wanna pet it.
Big fluffy dogs. That's my type. But it was funny because Sam says the neighbor saw Sydney leave with Diane or something like that, or he saw Diane leave because she left Sydney, and I remember I was like, she sees the neighbor is like this old woman. I'm like, okay, this is gonna come back up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, and he found out. So he does not like Diane. He has her shades. I was like, ah. Ooh, but Jean, since she's a sociopath, she, played her cards pretty well. She was very poker faced with this. I mean, she was probably, scared on the edge of her seat, but, she handled it pretty well.
She even hugged him and everything.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Speaking of hugging, so after we were done our show last week, I went and Googled basically the boundaries for therapists and what they can legally do.
Yeah.
And there's this huge article about how therapists should never touch, hug, or even let their patients borrow a sweater.
Oh.
So she is definitely breaking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I think the article was even called Boundaries. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She also took Claire to meditate, and it was so interesting. I feel like that wasn't for Claire at all. I feel like that was just for her.
Yeah.
Because during that she was meditating and she was seeing all those scenes that frustrated her, and so I'm like, poor Claire. It was funny if you were watching Claire. Well, she was just
eyes.
She was looking at her.
she was
She was like,
is this?
she was like,
I was like, oh, poor
It was
Claire.
kind of funny. Her eyes just were open, and
she was not concentrating at all. And Jean's all
I feel like her.
perfectly meditated.
I was like, oh, she's just using Claire to go to meditation.
Yeah.
But there's a cute little scene with Dolly and Jean. And she's like, do you want to be, or Sadie's she says that Sadie's Tinkerbell, and oh, Dolly, you'd be the perfect Peter Pan, because we definitely kind of start to realize that Jean's afraid for Dolly because she doesn't want her life to be hard.
Yeah.
But she's definitely still not she's definitely still supporting Dolly, that's for sure. But she's not being strict, At one point Dolly was didn't have her bathing suit on, her top. And she asked Dolly, do you want to be a part of the Super Boys Club? And she says, no, it's stupid. So I'm like, oh, it was just cute. It was cute. And you mentioned, I remember you said something bad's gonna happen with Dolly, and I don't want that to happen. I want it to just be perfect harmony with Dolly. So I don't know. I'm scared, y'all. I'm scared.
I just feel just as a prediction, I feel like something might happen to her, just because they've been focusing on that story aspect for enough time that seems like there's something that's going to build and happen. Even if it's not Dolly exactly, maybe it's something with Michelle that's bigger than what happened at the party.
I feel like later on, Lauren's definitely catching on to Jean. And they have a conversation at one point about, they definitely have a different perspective on their therapy sessions. Lauren believes about, how holding her patient accountable for their actions, whereas Jean's like, well, you don't want to force anything. It's kind of okay not to be too honest. You can't rush things. And Lauren kind of calls her out about, well, I believe that's just not being honest at all, and it's not the best way to. Were you going to say something?
Even when they were discussing patients, the subtext there was so crazy that it was like Lauren was passive aggressively telling her how she felt, but even though it wasn't directly,
she's catching on to her.
Yeah.
And also she was mad at Jean because Jean knew about the new lover in Daryl's life, so she's like, oh, why wouldn't you tell me if it was the other way around? So
I kind of feel like Jean is blowing her cover with a lot of people, not only Laren, but also with Michael, and just I feel like Sam too. The fact that he was why do you sound so much like her in the last episode? So
even Claire, 'cause she's doing some crazy things, but honestly,
At least she's not lying.
Yeah.
Claire's not lying. She's just crazy.
Yeah, exactly. But Jean, I think that moment with Lauren was one of the only other moments I actually didn't think what she did was that bad, and I thought Lauren was overreacting just a little bit because that's her ex-husband. That's not actually a guy she's still married to, and maybe Jean just didn't want to cause more drama. And so in that case, because her husband's still friends with the guy, so in that case, I didn't think she.
Well, this episode starts to come to a close with Tom, Allison's boyfriend, who's portrayed by Shiloh Fernandez. And I definitely, he was so familiar to me. And he was also, I don't know if you guys see, he was in Evil Dead. And he was also in, what else was he in? Red Riding Hood. So I definitely, remembered him from that. But he actually shows up at Allison's session, and he comes into the session. So I'm kind of, cringing. I'm like, oh, okay, what's going to happen? He seems violent. But they definitely have, a breakthrough with the session with Allison. She's like, you're not good for me. I don't need you. And he storms out because I was like, yes.
I loved that.
Making progress.
Yeah.
That was definitely a standout in this episode. That was my favorite part of this episode.
Yeah.
So kick him to the curb. She don't want no scrub. A scrub is a gift can't get no love from me. We definitely have to wrap up soon. I'm sorry if I'm rushing y'all. We have 15 minutes. Okay, so there was a cute little moment with Sid and Jean. They meet up later, and they're holding hands. What do you guys think about that? That was so cute. I was like, okay.
I love them together.
Yeah,
I
do. I just wish
she wasn't lying.
Yeah, if it was, yeah, exactly.
That's the only problem.
If it was an honest, relationship between both of them, it's they'd be perfect. I'd love them.
Yeah, and they're polar opposites. I think Sid lives in the moment, whereas Jean is completely, I think she's very calculated. Absolutely.
And that's what they were talking about too.
Yeah. It's just
live in the moment.
They just look cute together, you know?
They are.
They complement one another. They balance each other out despite her being crazy.
That's the problem, is that I kind of think, even in an ideal world, if she were to get divorced and be open and honest with Sydney, she just has so many issues that I think she would need her own therapy first before she could commit to anybody in any relationship.
But this episode comes into a kind of shocking ending. She's feeling faint, Jean. She's I don't know if she's having a panic attack, but something's wrong with her. She's feeling faint. She sees a glimpse of possibly Tom. She's like, Tom? Is that Tom? And Sid's, she's trying to comfort her. She's like, are you okay? And Jean's like, okay. Call Michael. Tell him I'm gonna be late. I'm like, oh no, what's going on?
Who's
I'm
Michael?
wondering. No, don't say that. Don't do that. Tom's there. He's gonna fight her or something. I'm like, oh my god, it was such a bad moment. So this episode ends with her ending up on the train, and she tells Michael, I'm sorry, I'm on my way. Or he asked her. I don't know if she texted him back, but
see, in that moment, it bothered me because I wanted some kind of foreshadowing or something to let us know that this would happen. It just it just seemed so random.
Yeah, something's wrong with Jean.
Yeah.
Medically or mentally.
I thought that it was that Tom shot her up with some drugs. That's why she was hallucinating.
When?
I don't know. That's just a theory of mine.
Something in her water.
Either in the water or he had a needle on her or something and poked her.
I'm pretty sure it was the same day, So
so that's why I was like, maybe it hit her a little bit later. I mean, I don't know, but I thought that's what went straight to my mind. I was like, she's drugged. Somebody drugged her. She's gonna get
Sydney. Maybe it's a twist.
So I'm also wondering what happened in between that time frame of the museum, because they went on a date to a museum or something, some kind of to the train. So I wonder, did she actually talk to Michael Sydney? So, and he knows who Sydney is. Apparently, he might. Michael.
And that's the thing. Didn't she actually go into Jean's phone to try to call the hospital or something?
Oh, yeah.
She didn't give her the password completely. She started and then she kind of stopped. And she didn't end up giving her the and then that's when Sydney was like, just relax. And I was like, ooh, if she goes to the hospital, she's gonna have to give them her real name.
Yeah.
That's all I was thinking about.
Oh my goodness. This is crazy. Is there anything from the chat before we wrap up?
The last comment was the bang bang comment.
Oh, thank you. Who's it from?
Joe.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Oh my God, is there? Well, I guess we can get into quick predictions. What do you guys think is gonna happen? Anything?
ahead.
So I think that Alexis is going to hook up with Michael in Texas. That's my first prediction.
Alexis and Michael in Texas.
I think it's happening, and I think that I think Jean is gonna hook up with Sydney like more than what they've done, but then we're gonna find out that she either has some major stress level or some actual illness that's causing this to happen to her with the fainting, because it couldn't have just been a one and done. This is gonna probably come up, Other than, and then I think something's gonna happen with Dolly.
I think since we didn't really talk about so much about Sam and Emily, I feel like they may somehow maybe get back together. I don't know, or like try to work things out. And I feel like Sydney might get jealous because of that. And then I feel like, I don't know, maybe Jean's cover is going to be blown. Don't like my words,
because Sam went on a date with Emily, and they seemed like they were hitting it off again. Like nothing changed in the time frame or time span, you know?
Yeah. So.
Oh God, I don't know what's gonna happen. I just keep hearing from people that actually finished the show that like it's gonna be crazy. I think there's gonna be a sex scene with Sydney and like Jean, and like in the meantime it's gonna be Alexis and Michael. That's my prediction for the week.
And then they both feel maybe not Jean because she doesn't feel guilty, but Michael feel all guilty.
God. No foursomes, people.
Makes us cringe even more.
I don't know what's gonna happen, but oh my God, guys.
I've heard from people the finale is crazy.
I know, we've heard that too. But don't tell us.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
Guys, we only know up to episode 6. We only do 2 episodes a week, so don't let us know the spoilers.
Yes, don't.
But just keep your questions and comments going because we really appreciate it. We have to wrap up, so ladies, why don't you introduce yourselves one last time, say goodbye, and tell them where to find you on social media.
My name is Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Rach Goodman, or on Facebook at Rachel Ann Goodman.
And I'm Karina Vargas. You guys can find me everywhere on social media at KarinaXVRGS.
Yes, guys, and follow me on all social media platforms at Ollie Dreamer, and tune in on Tuesdays for Marvel movie news on the Popcorn Talk Network, because sometimes I'm on that, sometimes I'm not, but yeah, for all my Marvel nerds. So, guys, we'll see you next week for episodes 7 and 8 of Gypsy here on AfterBuzz TV.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later, gypsies!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.